Good morning. Welcome to the Federal Office on the occasion of the press conference of Foreign Minister Wadephul and his Icelandic colleague. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear Torgedur. Good morning, and again a very warm welcome here to Germany, to Berlin, where you and your family have almost found a second home. Iceland and Germany are both linked also by another matter, and that is the matter of sports, handball. That is, Schleswig-Holstein is the home of handball in Kiel and in Flensburg, if I may say so, and I am pleased about the fact that we've always been able to rely on strong Icelandic support and will continue to do so. Icelandic coaches of the national team, German national team, have built a successful tradition, and that is a demonstration of the fact that there is a thing or two we can learn from Iceland, and not only as regards handball, because our interaction extends by far beyond the area of sports. Also, in the political sphere, we are playing each other, engaging the same games. I'm delighted about the fact, and I've only just been told, that the Icelandic Symphonic Orchestra is going to perform in Hamburg 100 years after the fact that the Hamburg Symphonic Orchestra first performed in Iceland. It is for the 60th time that a Christmas tree from Hamburg has been set up in the port of Reykjavik. It's a tradition that expresses the close ties between both our countries, but is also to be conceived as a gesture of gratitude, for it reminds us of the fact that Icelandic sailors, after the Second World War, distributed fish soup in the port of Hamburg to the people in the city, which had been destroyed. Internationally, too, Germany and Iceland act in concert. As trading nations, we both know how important a reliable rules-based order is for our prosperity, be it in the United Nations, in the Arctic Council, or as allies in NATO. And we've just come, basically, from a meeting of the NATO foreign ministers, which took place the day before yesterday. We know that we have a close ally in Iceland as regards the defense of our security and freedom in the Atlantic. Russia continues to be the most obvious threat to our security in Europe, but also in the Atlantic. We therefore welcome the fact that the United States want to use their influence to bring about an end to the war of Russia against Ukraine. And it is now Putin who has to demonstrate that he is ready to accept a compromise. We continue to stand at the side of Ukraine, and we will continue to support them as we have done recently with our partners in NATO in Brussels. We will once again increase pressure on Russia by expanding our sanctions, and I very much welcome and would like to thank our friends in Iceland for their support for the sanctions against Russia. For Russia continues its relentless war in and against Ukraine. It is therefore of the greatest importance that we enhance and increase the pressure on Russia now. This includes a workable solution for the use of the frozen Russian assets. Putin has to realize and be aware of the price that he pays for his continued aggression. And Germany, the federal government, will do whatever it can to allow us to use these frozen assets. We stand by what we've said. The more partners do their bit and come in, the stronger we will be. Germany announced at the NATO foreign ministers meeting in Brussels that it will be making available 2 new packages of arms goods for Ukraine to the total amount of $200 million in order to strengthen Ukraine's position in its defense against Russia. The threat that emanates from Russia, however, extends beyond Ukraine. Here, we have to take action and to send out clear signals. We know that the security of our Nordic allies on the northern flank is our security too, and Iceland is located at a geostrategically enormously important place in the North Atlantic. We therefore value the fact that we are cooperating so closely with Iceland, and we will continue to expand that cooperation. We want to cooperate more closely in air and maritime surveillance and in protecting critical infrastructure, as agreed during the recent visit of my colleague Boris Pistorius, our Minister for Defense. The geopolitical environment of the Arctic has changed permanently as a consequence of conflicts, but also as a consequence of climate change. And the Arctic is warming 4 times faster than other regions of the world. The changes that result from this demand adaptation efforts. This has to take place faster than we had expected. We will create solutions together. But we cooperate not only when it comes to protecting the climate, but also in the area of energy independence. Iceland plays a leading role. You are a world leader with regard to using renewables, especially because your use of energy is, as a consequence of climate change, very high. You are a very important partner in the field of technologies for Germany, be it in the area of geothermal power or CO2 storage technologies. And we're pleased to see companies from both countries cooperating so closely in the area of these technologies and especially in the area of wind power. These developments are all the more important because they are the basis for security, freedom and prosperity for coming generations. Dear Torgedur, in handball, it is above all team spirit that counts, especially when the going gets rough. And this is also true for international politics. We need to have team players as partners. This is true for both our countries, and therefore I am pleased that we continue to work to further improve our cooperation as a partner for security and prosperity in Europe. Thank you.
Vielen Dank.
Thank you very much, dear Johan, Foreign Minister. But I will continue in English now, although I do understand German quite well. But my German has become slightly rusty.
Real pleasure and an honor to be here in Germany, especially here in Berlin today. I know you have a lot on your schedule today, but I appreciate it very much that you had the time to meet me here in Berlin, because I want to underline everything what you said. Our relationship throughout decades between our countries, it has been extremely good and valuable as well. And on a personal note, yes, I'm really connected to Germany through handball. I was yesterday, I had the opportunity to travel to Magdeburg and see them win once again in the European Champions League, but also I had my first child here in Dormagen, in the neighborhood of Köln. And my second one is playing handball here. But also, you know, throughout, because in my previous life, I was also Minister for Education and Culture, and all these enormous important cultural ties between our countries, they enrich our relationship definitely, and will continue to do so, and as well. Now, the trades between our countries, it's valuable both for us and I think you as well. I think we are in surplus when it comes to service, but you are definitely in surplus when it comes to products. When we see and receive German tourists back home in Iceland, they are more than welcome and very much appreciated. But we had very fruitful discussions earlier this morning. And we had, I would say, a highly productive exchange covering a broad spectrum of topics coming from global security challenges and also to the deepening of our bilateral relationship and cooperation as well. And everything what you said on Ukraine, I want to underline and agree with. We have to ensure the ceasefire and hopefully peace finally in Ukraine will be just and lasting. And just to underline that as well, it's not just a phrase we are saying in every meeting and I think in every meeting we are having, be it in Brussels or whatever, because it's a substantial meaning between these words, and they are related to Europe's security and Ukraine's sovereignty and independence as well. So what I want to see is that, Europe has to step up, absolutely, but I also want to commend especially Germany for taking now decisive steps in the leading role on Europe's behalf and talking quite clear language when it comes to support Ukraine and the security of Europe as well. Me and Johan, we discussed also the importance of the North Atlantic, the security in the North Atlantic and the Arctic as well, where 4 million of indigenous people are living. It's not like Antarctica. The Arctic is quite different, would I say. And we also see the need for NATO and the individual NATO partners. We need to coordinate and strengthen our also defense and security cooperation in the region. And it's very much appreciated that Germany is putting now more focus on this important area, not just for Iceland, but in a general for the security of Europe and the world. We need to have the eyes on the Arctic because Russia is still the biggest threat we are facing, not just in Ukraine, but in the Arctic as well. And you could say that China is there, in a way, looming around the corner. We have been taking, as Johan, you mentioned, concrete steps towards this goal on security in the Arctic by signing the recent letter of intent when Boris visited Iceland just a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed also European cooperation, which for us is a really important thing. We had good talks about also heated issue in Iceland, the recent safeguards taken by the EU, where I also want to underline we still have the support of Germany and other countries. I think this discussion was good, it was important, and it's good that we are sharing the same picture that Iceland and Norway as well, we are integrated part of Europe, we are belonging to Europe, and when we say Europe first, it means also Iceland and Norway. I especially want to thank you on this meeting and these discussions and just to describe our bilateral relations. They are just in one word, it's excellent. And I'm looking very much forward to collaborate more with Germany, a kind of second home for me. But thank you so much. And I just want to mention I formally invited Johan to come to Iceland. I think it's really important, and it would also underscore how deep and good our relationship is between our two countries. Thank you so much.
Die erste Frage.
Steffen Wurzel, Deutschlandradio, first question. Thank you, Deutschlandfunk. Madam Minister, a question that many cultural fans might be interested in. Yesterday, the decision has been taken. Israel may perform at the Eurovision Song Contest. The Netherlands, Ireland, and Spain aim to boycott the event. In Iceland, this is being debated. What is your position, and what should be done as you see it? If I may, a second question. The American administration amazingly changed or published its new security strategy overnight, blaming Europe in strong terms that the freedom of opinion in Europe was under pressure. What is your position regarding this? Shall I begin? We welcome the decision to allow Israel to participate at the Eurovision Song Contest. Israel has traditionally been part of this. Of course, this was an independent decision, but from Germany's point of view, we welcome that decision. And I think that all the other countries and organizations involved should seriously consider whether they will not also attend. I think we're talking a cultural event here, and they should not become the playground of the dispute or the battle about differences of opinion elsewhere. An event like the Eurovision Song Contest can also have a positive effect, I believe, and we should use that opportunity. As regards the new strategy published by the United States, we will take a close look at it and review all the individual items. We haven't had the time to do so yet, but we will do so. I would like to underline that the United States are and will remain our most important ally. in the NATO alliance. However, this alliance is focusing on addressing security and defense political issues. It is an alliance of countries sharing the same values. Of course, you can discuss other questions, but I believe that questions like freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, and how we organize our liberal society here in the Federal Republic of Germany are not part of that. We don't believe that we need to get advice here from any country or party. We have a constitution that regulates these matters. And we have the three powers, the executive, the legislative, and the judicature. And we also have free media in Germany, which we highly value. We are grateful and pleased about the fact that the Federal Republic of Germany has been able to discuss all these matters internally. And we believe we will continue to be able to also address these issues amongst ourselves in the future too. We don't require any advice from the outside in that regard.
Concerning Israel and its participation in the European Song Contest, Iceland's position on Gaza, the Palestinian and Israel relationship is quite clear. We are supporting very strongly for the foreseeable future the two-state solution. We also welcome very much needed ceasefire in Gaza, and we also urge and we want to see the more increased humanitarian aid entering the strip. So that is from Iceland's point of view, but on the other hand, I want to have discussions with the Minister of Culture, and some would say it's in the hand of the national broadcaster, but that is a sensible matter in Iceland, and we will discuss it back there first before I say something in the German for the German media. But it's a sensible matter, and we will value it from every perspective. But on the other hand, like I said, there is now a very important ceasefire in Gaza, and that is the biggest thing from my point of view, is to support the people in Gaza and help and give access to all the humanitarian aid we can support them with. Though I also want to underline, I'm really concerned about the developments on the West Bank, on the other hand. Coming to the second question about the new the U.S. national strategy, defense strategy, security strategy, which was published late yesterday. I have not read it myself. I have not had the opportunity to value it. Just to underline, Iceland's relationship to the U.S. has been good throughout the years. We have excellent relationship now. When it comes to the U.S. And when it relates to defense and security especially, we are a member founding member of NATO since '49. We have the bilateral agreement since 1951 with the U.S. But on the other hand, of course, we have to strengthen our defense and security in our area. That's why we are now we have approved, my government, a new policy, the first policy in defense and strategy, and we will follow that up with bilateral agreements, which we did newly with Germany, with Finland, and we will consider to do more with Canada and other like-minded countries. And from my personal view, I think it's very important that Iceland we are keeping our identity, and our identity is very much related to our policy when it comes to our values, and they are freedom, democracy, and underlining that we have to respect international law, the rules-based order, and also protect the human rights in general for everyone, women, minority, children, disabled people. So you have to take care of that.
Die nächste Frage stellt.
Next question, Mr. Blank, DPA. Foreign Minister, good morning. The Russian chief negotiator in the negotiations with Ukraine has blamed Federal Chancellor that he was dumb and that Germany had no interest to negotiate. How is Germany going to enter these negotiations about the future of Ukraine if it is be treated in that way? As far as the upcoming vote about the sanctions in Germany are concerned, do you expect a good outcome of the vote today? And what does the recent discussion mean for stability of the coalition government in Germany? My apologies. This coalition is absolutely stable, and the outcome of today's election is going to be proof of that. The parliamentary groups will take united positions and we will get the majority. These discussions are very complicated discussions. They affect the future of our welfare systems, of the pension payment system, and it is a discussion amongst the generations. That is something that I perceive as normal. I think we have been able to agree a good compromise, and I trust that it will find broad support today. I believe that many of our colleagues will bear in mind that given the present international situation, what we need in Germany now is stability. We have been following the developments in neighboring countries where our colleagues are facing internal difficulties. And therefore, it is good that we have a reliable coalition of the CDU, CSU, and the SPD here. I've taken that with me from many of the engagements and meetings in different formats I have participated in. This is good for Germany, and what is good for Germany is good for NATO and stability. Of course, everyone has to choose his or her style. Many Russians aren't always very well advised in that regard. We have been realizing this of late, but we stay our course. We stand at the side of Ukraine, and everyone is aware of that. Ukraine defends its own freedom and at the same time Europe's freedom. But at a given point in time, it will prove right, and it will make sense then that European voices are being coordinated or are being involved in the exchanges with Russia in a coordinated fashion. We stand ready, but we Germans always act in cooperation and coordination with our partners. But the time will come where we too will have to engage in talks about the future that affects us too, where we Europeans don't believe that it is a good state of affairs to have only the United States negotiate on Europe's behalf. So far, we have to take note of the fact that Vladimir Putin continues his war, does not seem to be looking for a compromise. But as I said, that moment will come, and we stand clearly, unequivocally, and resolutely at the side of Ukraine. The Federal Chancellor continues and will continue to do so, to stand up and speak out for the fact that we can use the frozen Russian assets. That will be viewed as a clear signal that Europe stands at the side of Ukraine, and not only for a given moment, but until Russia sits down at the negotiating table.
Comment on the Russia question, just a short one. I think it's a positive, very positive sign that Russia is irritated, especially when it comes to Germany, because they know if Germany is strong, then Europe is strong and is stronger than together, and that Germany, they are sending very clear signals about, listen how Johan is here speaking when it comes to steadfast support to Ukraine. It's really important for all the European countries, among also Iceland. You know, for us, it is important that Europe's in a whole steps up, and the leading party is of course Germany. So Europe's security is obvious, top priority here in Germany, and I embrace it very much.
Die letzte Frage stellt
The last question, Mr. Ta'iwi from Al Jazeera. Good morning, Minister, Madam Minister. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, during a telephone call with the American President Donald Trump in Washington, talked about the second phase of the Gaza plan. He aims to travel to the United States to talk about this. What is your position in that regard?
You mentioned Russia is the biggest threat for North Atlantic security. I would like to add it as well. My question, how do you describe the last threat of Mr. Putin, the President Putin, to Europe? Thank you.
Also zunächst einmal
Let me first say that the Federal Chancellor will travel to Jordan and to Israel this weekend, and amongst others, talk about these questions with the Israeli Prime Minister. For the federal government, it is important that we take concrete steps to enter phase 2 of the peace plan, and we are pleased to note that there is broad agreement as far as that is concerned. We see the need that a political process has to begin now, that there is responsibility on the part of the Palestinians for security and administration provided for, but also that we have political institutions and security institutions at a somewhat higher level that have been legitimized. It has to be clear that we need to see a process now that makes sure that Hamas does not no more acquire superiority or control over Gaza. I believe that the talks that Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to have in Washington will contribute to that objective.
It's, I think we never say it enough that Russia is definitely our biggest threat when it comes to the security of Europe, security of the North Atlantic and the Arctic as well. And though we have been witnessing this terrible war of aggression in Ukraine on Russia's behalf, we have not seen the Northern Fleet, which is the biggest fleet of Russia. It has not been declining, on the contrary. And we are also witnessing very firm and decisive hybrid attacks also in the northern part of Europe, not just in the Baltic Sea, but also in Denmark and also in the North Atlantic. So we have to be very much aware. And when Putin says he is ready for war in Europe, we have to know he's sincere in that. He's being ready, he's preparing. And when we have a solution in Ukraine, a long and lasting peace there, he will not stop, and I think he will focus on not just on Poland and the Baltic, but also as well to Georgia and maybe Moldova as well. So this is a serious threat. But on the other hand, I think we can never underline it enough that Europe has to stick together. Europe has to have the seat at the table when it comes to Ukraine, and we have to also learn from history and not being reluctant when it comes to Russia. And I don't want to, and I'm in this country, I don't want to see again or be part of an agreement that relates to München. I don't want to see a München Agreement Volume 2. That is not acceptable. So that's why it's so important that Europe speaks out loudly, like Germany is doing, and that we stick together and invest in our own future.
Herzlichen Dank.
Thank you very much.